Hello and welcome to the newest Parc'd Up episode. It is episode 14, episode Fernando Alonso. And we are recording on his birthday, so happy birthday, Fernando Alonso, which I think is a really weird coincidence. But we've got a lot to get through today. So firstly, we're going to be going through, obviously, the iconic London E season finale for Formula E in season 10. Obviously, we were all there. So we've got even more that we found out. There's a lot to get through, even with just Formula E. We also have the Hungarian Grand Prix for Formula 2, Formula 3 and Formula 1. Don't know why I went in that order, but here we are. And then Spa, which happened last weekend for F1, F2, and penultimate round for Formula 3, where we saw Prema crowned as team's champion. So a lot to get through, a lot of action.
Formula 3 in, I've already forgotten, Budapest. I don't remember which round it was. Formula 3 in Budapest, sprint race. Well, qualifying, I can't remember. I didn't write about qualifying. So, qualifying, I'm not 100% sure. Can't remember.
Lawrence Van was on pole. I know
that's
that much.
On pole for the feature, and then Bogdanovic was on pole for the sprint. The sprint race, Nikita Bedrin took his maiden race victory in Formula 3 for AIX Racing. And he also was part of a 1-2 finish for AIX Racing in the sprint race, because Tsanopol in Trefuvazak. I'm going to go to that. Yeah. I'm not and I'm going to refer to him as Tsanopol from now on.
Most people just refer to him as Tassa.
You do.
Okay. He finished in second place, taking his first podium in the championship. So it was
first point as well.
Huh?
Tsanopol's first point in the championship as well.
Oh, points. I thought you said win. I was like, huh? Sorry, my brain's not working. Yeah, first points, first podium. Those first wins. It was a very eventful race. Safety car came out quite quickly because Matthias Sagazeta had contact on the opening lap and he was unable to continue. It was a bit of back and forth between Bogdanovic and Bedrin. And Bogdanovic actually caught the grass on the inside of turn 2 and he went sideways off of the track. He did manage to catch it, but it dropped him down to third place, so sort of dropped him out of contention of the lead. Tramnitz tried to pass Callum Voisin, and as a result Voisin skipped across the chicane, trying to keep fourth place, and the team eventually told him, let him just concede the place because we don't want a penalty, which I think sometimes is better for them to do it as soon as possible. One, to avoid the penalty, but two, it gives them the chance and the time to repass legally. It's not the word, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. To pass in a legal manner, and take the place back. But yeah, Bedrin was in control almost the majority of the time, resisted the pressure of Bogdanovic and crossed the line at the checkered flag to take his first F3 victory. And a fun little statistic, little fact, AIX being on the podium means that all teams on the F3 grid have stood on the podium in the 2024 season.
Oh, what a slow.
Which is, it's actually a mad stat. I know obviously they have 3 drivers for each team, so there's more of a chance of the teams getting on the podium.
But still,
yeah. Still.
Did anyone see Selena Gomez's post?
Nice.
No.
You're watching Formula 3 in the background? Not even kidding. If you go check on the social media, I'm sure Editing Alice may include this image. Sorry to give you more work, Editing Alice. I love you. It's, when I saw that, I was like, no way. But no, It's not kidding.
You girls
It's
in
great.
Bogdanovic crossed the line in third ahead of Tramnitz and Mansell. Voisin took sixth place ahead of Leonardo Fornaroli, Luke Browning, who finished in seventh and eighth. Lawrence Van Hoopen.
Yep.
Okay. I'm like, I always say it so cautiously. Finished in ninth place, and Sami Megatunov rounded out the points in P10 for Trident. It was like, it had a little bit of a moment, but I feel like it was a relatively calm F3 race in comparison to
calm. What?
Yeah. The feature race. Nicholas Solov took his maiden feature race victory. So it's not his maiden race of the season because he's taken 2 sprint races before, but it was his maiden feature race victory in Formula 3. And for Formula 3, it was the 2 races. It was the same. What? Did you just drop your ice cream? Fuck's sake. For Formula 3 across the weekend, both races, it was a teammate 1-2 on both of them, which I thought was quite a fun little thing. So yeah, ART had a 1-2 with Solov finishing first and Lawrence Van Hoopen finishing second.
I hate to break it to you, babe. Lawrence got disqualified.
Yeah.
Oh, mate. Well, when they crossed the line, it was a 1-2.
It was a 1-2, but he did later get disqualified.
He.
Very, very sad. So crying about it.
Yeah.
I saw Christian Mantle backing the team and Lawrence just saying, like, I can't remember what it was actually for, but it basically said, like, this was unavoidable or whatever.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was for.
Adding on to that disqualification, he didn't really have a great race start. He had a wheel spin off the line and meant he was having to defend against his teammate. He also ran deep in at turn 1, which meant he dropped 2 places to Solov and Noel Leon, Alice's favourite name.
Man.
Basically, the tyres were overheating. I think there was a split strategy, maybe. Could be talking complete and utter bullshit, but it was a while ago. And I didn't actually really watch the race, so this was from replays. But yeah, Van Hoopen said that his tyres were beginning to overheat when he was chasing his teammate. And yeah, the tyres weren't good enough, basically. By the midway stage... Oh, I fucked up. Why did I say sprint rate? I need to edit this article. Whoopsies. The midway stage of the feature race, all the top 6 drivers were within 4 seconds of each other. So it was quite close, very close. And then Santiago Ramos had a good 9 seconds clear of Voisin, who was in 7th. So it was sort of like the top 6 were very close, and then there was quite a big gap to play with. Oliver Gerthe?
I usually see Goethe.
Okay, I don't know. Managed a late dive into turn 1 and passed Dino Bogdanovic. Gabriel Mini passed to Sanapol to move up into P11. Yes, I was right about the tyres. Into the final 3 laps, and there was a phase of tyre management. So the strategies, I think, came into play because obviously a warmer track than possibly what they were expecting. And Solov was challenged by his teammate for the lead of the race, but there was a late safety car. And it was as a result of contact between Arvid Lindblad and Matthias Zagazzetta on lap 21, with Lindblad having to stop at turn 4. And because there was so little time remaining, there wouldn't be enough time to have a lap go round behind the safety car, and then a final lap shootout. Race control basically said, "No, that's the end of the race." So Solov took his 3rd race win of 2024. Ahead of his teammate at that point before the disqualification.
If you want to put it into perspective, Nikola Tesla has 3 race wins and sits P8. Leonardo Fornaroli is P1 in the championship right now with no wins.
Yeah.
Welcome to F3.
I think that's one of the things,
style.
watching F3 seriously for the first time, like for the first season, for me, it's such a weird thing to wrap my head around. That someone with 3 race wins is in P8 and someone with no race wins. Well, obviously I know it's because on a whole he's been doing better, like Fornaroli's been doing better, but to me it's still just a weird...
What happened in MotoGP in 2020? Joan Mir was almost crowned champion without even winning the race.
Yeah.
Stoffel
he
Van Dorn
ended up
won
winning
his Formula E World Championship with 1 race win in Monaco.
Yeah, I know. That's yeah. I remember that one. Formula 2, the sprint race. Richard Verschoor secured his 4th win in Formula 2, but was then
Disqualified. Yep.
no, this one I did include a little post-race little thing, so you got to bear with me. When we cross the line, we're going as the race happened, okay?
So sorry.
A bit like how we're going to talk about F1 in Spa, okay? Sorry, I had to do it. Right. Richard Verschoor, he took his 4th win in F2 at that point when he crossed the line. But he lost the lead early on after starting in pole position because of the whole reverse grid format. He had a good start off the line, but bloody Andrea Kimi Antonelli, that boy has just been flying the past couple of like race weekends. Like he's really said sort of like last 3 races of the season, just fucking all out.
You want me to get that F1 sheet? Watch me.
Yeah.
And he went around the outside of the Invicta car of Miney at turn 2 and took 2nd place, and didn't waste any time. He took the lead down the inside at turn 1 on the start of lap 4, and then by the end of lap 5 he was over 2 seconds clear at the front of the field. Like he was storming. Storming. However, lap 11, his lead had decreased to only 1.6 seconds because of the tyres. Again, a bit like the F3, the tyres sort of started degrading a bit quicker. Well, no, not degrading quicker. I think he started on the soft compound, and it took the 11 laps for the hard compounds to sort of get up to temperature. So by the time, the hard compound tyres sort of coming into their own, and then he suffered a lock-up going into turn 1. He went wide at the last corner of the previous lap, came down straight into turn 1 and locked up, which allowed Verschoor and Miney to go through, and then he just continued to fall down the order, sadly. He lost positions to Victor Martins, Enzo Fittipaldi, Dennis Hauger and Isak Hajar. And then Prema called him in to pit for a set of hards. So obviously the softs in that lap, whether it was also because he damaged the wheels a little bit more, well not the wheels, the tyres, sorry, because of the lockup. But yeah, they just seem to be falling off. I know, I did note soft tyres seem to be the worst tyre decision. That's my little statement, apparently. Because Bortoleto and Fittipaldi were also struggling. And the Van Amersfoort racing driver of Fittipaldi, yeah, He is VAR, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think, no, because Bortoletto is... No.
Alice. Alice, Grace Cook. Queen.
Yeah, you can say all these, but I can't remember the fucking teams, okay?
They're now Invicta Racing, once UNI Virtuosi, and Norfolk-based team.
Yeah.
20 minutes away from
You
my
get the
house.
pointing now.
Huh?
I get the pointing now.
Yeah, he was forced to pit because he suffered a puncture on the front left tyre. Formula 2 really said Budapest give Katie some happiness with single-seater racing.
Would you say Budapest is the Budapest?
Budapest.
The Budarest.
The Budapest, the Budarest. Don't, because
No one tell Josh we stole that from him.
No. Because when I read that message, I was like, oh shit, did I mess up the title of the article? And I was like, no. But yeah, by final lap of the race, for sure had managed to build a 2-second gap out at the front of the field at that point. And he crossed the line on the track to take his 4th F2 victory ahead of Invicta's Miney and ART Grand Prix Victor Martin. Sorry, I get very excited because I don't get a lot of joy at the moment with F2 and Victor Martins. 98% of it not being his fault.
Victor Martins had a very successful Budapest.
He did.
It was definitely his Budapest weekend in the season so far.
It was the Budapest of the Budarest. But my little post-race note. Following the conclusion of the FIA Formula 2 sprint race in Budapest, Trident's Richard Verschoor has been disqualified from the results. Kushmaini inherited 1, marking the first time an Indian driver has won in Formula 2.
Is that his first ever win?
Yes.
That's wild. Sounds right.
Yeah. I was in doubt myself, but yeah, no. And Victor Martins was promoted to P2. Campos Racing's Isak Hajar was also promoted to the final podium position, and he earned the point for fastest lap. And Juan Manuel Correa of Dams Lucas Oil took the final point in 8th place. So yeah, on the track you won, off the track you lose. You win some, you lose some.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Sorry, that is my favourite link you remember.
Right, feature race. I feel like I'm blasting through these, but at the same time, I'm not. But hey ho. I said Andrea Kimi Antonelli has sat there and gone, do you know what, fuck it, last couple of race weekends, let's go for it. He took it was a late move. From what I'm reading, it was quite a late move in the race. They took the checker flag in first place for his maiden F2 feature race victory. Paul Aaron had a slow start from pole position, and then suffered a lockup going into turn 1. Which dropped him down to 7th place. Martins had the best getaway from the line, going from 5th to 1st in the approach to the opening corner. But he was under pressure quite quickly from Fittipaldi and Bortoletto. Prema, I don't know whether they'd prayed to some god or something in the racing world to give them an insight into the next couple of laps of the race, because they came over the radio and they said to Antonelli, get past Maloney. You need to get past Maloney as soon as possible. Just do it. Don't argue. Do it. And he did. Down the inside at turn 9, he completed the move, got past Maloney. And then the racing stopped. Well, it was neutralised because a safety car was required. Because Paul Aaron, who attempted to move down the inside of Hauger, carried a bit too much speed and ended up in the back of Maloney, which caused them both to spin and both of them to stop on track. So, this is my little, not conspiracy theory, but my conspiracy theory is that Prema contacted something, got a view into the future, and were like, if we were behind Maloney, it would have been into us. That's a little thingy. But yeah, the incident allowed a few of the drivers who started the race on the soft tyres to complete their mandatory stop, the cheeky little pre-pit stop. Those included Martins, Bortoletto, Fittipaldi, Hauger, O'Sullivan, Behrman, and Isak Hajar. So all of them basically got a free pit stop. Pit stop. Racing resumed on lap 8. Antonelli led the pack ahead of the sprint race winner at that point, Leshaw and Miney. With the three of them, they didn't take their mandatory pit stop. During the safety car, they opted to stay out.
Can't take... Oh my god.
God, now I'm reading this. The spelling mistakes in this article. Jesus Christ.
You can't make a pit stop under a safety car in F2.
Oh.
That'll be why they didn't. It's unlike F3, you get a very, very big penalty if you take a pit stop under a safety car. It is against the rules.
Oh, it might have been just before a safety car came out.
That's why Pepe Marti
got
a one penalty a couple of races ago.
Oh, is that Monaco?
I think it was later on than that.
Got one in Monaco.
No, there was a situation where Jack Crawford or Zach O'Sullivan, one of the two,
Them two I always get
came
mixed up.
into the pits 3 seconds, across the line 3 seconds before the safety car was announced, so he was able to take his pit because he was already in the pit stop. But
Okay, yeah.
if you are not across the final pit lane 1, I think it's pit lane 1, the line, then you essentially have to drive through and take it again at a later point.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I'm just a child.
Baby.
Just a baby. But the second safety car of the race was deployed because Cordial decided he was going to have a meeting with the barrier at turn 4. Didn't want to drive anymore. Just was like, plop that there. Cool, that's me done. I can go home. No, I kid. But he was okay. Nothing too bad happened. And it meant Antonelli had a chance to pit for the soft compound tyres and come back out into the pack in 5th. Antonelli then decided that he was going to go on a storm race. Caught up with Martins and Bortoletto. And because of the 2 safety cars, the race became one against the clock. And yeah, so there wasn't enough time to complete the remaining laps, so they put it onto a timer for the remainder of the race. And with 9 minutes to go until the end, Antonelli used DRS and passed Victor Martins on the main straight to take the lead of the race. So, late safety car. He used it to his advantage. He got DRS. He went through. He won race.
Kimi Antonelli is very good at that. He does that quite often.
Yeah. He's very good under pressure in like the last stages of races. In the end, he built a lead of over 12 seconds bear in mind, 12 seconds.
That's pretty insane. I mean, we had the biggest GP4 advantage this weekend. I don't think there was around. It was either like 11, like 15 seconds. I mean, considering that was from Lucas Blakely, it was kind of insane. But like,
yeah,
he has been phenomenal.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, like another level. I had a chat with him, and I was like, "You need to stay. The championship need you."
Yeah, Antonelli finished over 12 seconds ahead of second place Victor Martins. Got to keep his race win. Didn't get disqualified. So, crossed the line on track in first. Kept his first. For sure made a last lap overtake on Bortoletto to take the final podium position. Fittipaldi crossed the line in 5th place ahead of Hauger. Miney took 7th ahead of Ritomo Miata and Taylor Barnard, and Rafael Villagomez rounded out the points paying position in P10. That's F2. Carnage. The carnage. Now let me go
Carnage.
here. Now, all our jokes about being booed best and booed rest, whatever it is, I can't remember now, was because the title of the article that I wrote was Piastri pits the rest to be best in Budapest. I was so proud of myself for that one. I was like, well, what rhymes? And all of that flowed, and I was like, okay, it's going to be a mouthful.
Call me a damn poet.
But Oscar Piastri in Hungary became the 115th Grand Prix winner in F1 history. For his maiden win in F1 and helping McLaren achieve their first 1-2 since Monza in 2021. Yes.
I am 99.9% sure he is the first FIA Formula 2 champion to win an F1 race.
Yes.
No,
No.
he's the first FIA Formula 3 champion to win an F1 race. There we go.
That would make more sense.
Yeah.
Because George does exist.
Yep. I forgot they were FIA Formula 2, but I know it was he was the first FIA Formula something. I was like, no, it has to be F3, not F2.
What do you mean, like Marcus Armstrong won it? Joking. Robert Schwartzman's here. Joking.
It was. I don't want to say it out there. It was a controversial race, a very controversial race.
Yeah.
But there was another record that was set.
Cheers, driver.
Piastri took a record as well. He's the first driver to be born in the 21st century to win an F1 race.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's
the clip that they posted of Lewis and Seb being like, yeah, once a kid past 2000 beats us, that's why we need to retire.
I remember when they said that. That's crazy. Oh my god.
But Lewis Hamilton took 3rd place, and he became the first driver in the series history to achieve 200 podiums.
Damn.
Also cried tears.
Yes. Qualifying, the only sort of main thing that happened was Perez's bad luck, just in general, continued. But yeah, he ran over. It was a very wet session for qualifying, if I remember correctly. And he had a little run over a curb, lost control of the rear, and ended in the barriers. The rear of his car looked fucked when they put it up onto the flatbed. Like, just it was the fact that he was like, "Can I go back out for qualifying?" And I'm like, "Mate, have you seen your car?
You've seen?
No. If you drive it on 3 wheels, go for it." Even then, I don't think you got 3 wheels. I think you got the front two wheels, and that's about it.
Not right.
But yeah, it was a red flag, and the rain just got heavier So I think some went out. Yeah, everyone went out apart from the Alpine pair, and I don't know what crack the Alpine strategists were on that qualifying. Why? They were not in a good position. They didn't send them back out, and they finished P19 and P20 in quali. Make it make sense.
Oh.
Like, why? At least, like, if they go off track, at least they tried to get a faster lap. Q3, it was very rainy again, and everyone set their initial laps, came back in, and then in the end, only a few went out. I believe it was Piastri, Verstappen, Ricciardo. No, Piastri didn't go out, but Verstappen went out, back out onto track to try and better his time. Didn't better his time, and Lando Norris got pole position. So it was a good day for McLaren on the Saturday. Not so much in some people's eyes on the Sunday. Yeah. Once again, Pierre Gasly started the race either at the back of the grid or in the pit lane, because the team made a change to his car setup and power unit. Norris had a quick launch off the line and was closely followed by Piastri and Verstappen. They all went 3 wide into turn 1. Verstappen went wide on the outside and rejoined the track ahead of Norris. He was noted for leaving the track and gaining an advantage, and his race engineer advised him to hand back the position to Norris as a result of a looming threat of a penalty, which didn't go down very well. Max Verstappen had a bit of a cry on the radio.
Of course he does.
Yeah. Is this the race where Thingy told him to grow up, stop being so childish? Okay, cool. My favourite radio message.
I mean, the radio messages in this race just kind of were a bit insane.
Yeah.
The radio was more interesting to watch. I think.
I don't know. We didn't really watch the race, but
no,
it was very funny getting like the Twitter updates of things that Max or Lando said during the race.
So bad.
Yeah. By lap 11, Piastri's lead had grown to 3 seconds. He was told really early on to save his tyres, but he was reporting that they were comfortable. So he just sort of blasted off into the distance. Hamilton was the first to pit, for the front runners to pit for a change of tyres. And he was attempting an undercut on Verstappen for what would have been 3rd place at the end of the race.
You rhymed again. Kitty, you're a poet and you don't even know it.
I know. I don't like it, okay. Halfway mark of the race, Norris was now around 1.5 seconds behind Piastri. I know some of the English commentators were questioning if Piastri was now beginning to struggle with his tyres. Norris was given the go-ahead to race his teammate until the mid-40s of like the laps of the race. Lewis Hamilton ignored a call to pit for tyres, as he does. King. He decides his tyre strategy, not the other way around. Norris pitted first as a top 4 and came out in 4th place. So McLaren's explanation was that they pitted Norris first to hold off Hamilton, who was gaining who was closing down on them to take the lead. So they were going to use him as a little block so that Oscar could create a big enough gap so that when he pitted, Hamilton wouldn't be a problem. And then when Piastri pitted, they did a slow pit stop and when he came out, he returned to the track behind Norris. So Norris at this point had technically undercut his own teammate-ish. Yeah. So McLaren fucked up their strategy majorly. Whether it was because the actual strategy was shit or because of the slow pit stop. But they fucked up. But they eventually told Norris that he needed to hand the place back because it was Oscar's. The strategy didn't work. Hand it back. It was Oscar's place, basically. But Lando was pushing on. And he'd made over 3 seconds, so he was like, if Oscar wants the position back, he needs to catch up to me. I'm not dropping down, otherwise the strategy really wouldn't work.
Nice.
That was his reasoning. Verstappen and Hamilton had a little
baby monster moment.
Yeah,
it was a baby monster moment.
Yeah.
It really was.
I don't know what Max was doing. He didn't have the racing line. He wasn't turning his wheel. His wheel was straight on. He locked up, and he almost T-boned Lewis Hamilton. Like, imagine going at the start of the year, Max Verstappen's going to go 4 races without a race win. You'd be like, funny joke.
Yeah.
Reality.
No, really. What?
Did you know if Lewis Hamilton was to go on and win every single race of the season, and Max Verstappen always finished outside of the podium, Lewis Hamilton could win the World Drivers' Championship?
Do it. Why not? Let's get them.
I reckon he could do that.
Number 8, let's go!
Let's go for the 9.
Number 9.
Oh, I have a question. Okay, I have a question for us. Do you think that because McLaren fucked up the strategy, do you think they should have allowed them to just fight?
No. No.
It would have ended badly if they both just fought it out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have. They wouldn't have.
I understand that that's their fault, but also, like, absolutely not.
They need the points. They really need the points, especially in Lando, I think, being now closest to Max.
Which is understandable. Like, if they're thinking about that, then surely Lando winning would have been...
Thing is, though, is that Oscar Piastri is only 32 points behind Lando Norris.
Yeah.
Did you just say 32 pints?
Points.
Pints.
Is that like the same pint?
My throat is half closed up. What do you expect from me?
It's just Oscar Piastri's a lightweight, so he's 32 pints behind Lando Norris.
My thing is that they both look like children, so they definitely wouldn't get served without their ID.
Yeah.
They definitely ID.
Yeah, I think it's interesting what happened, but you can like look at it from two sides, because on one side there's like the team effort, and McLaren I think always has been a team. Like, they have 2 drivers, they go together sort of up and up and up. But then at the same time, if you look at like drivers that are very successful in the sport, Lewis Hamilton and Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, if they got team orders, they just said straight no. If like they were in Lando's position, they would have said, well, Oscar's a nice bloke, but I'm leading the race, I'm quicker, I'm gonna win this race. So it's very from like 2 sides. It's very interesting what happened. I think, you know, Lando did the right thing, Oscar did the right thing. Obviously the team fucked up, so it might be like it's a little bit different. But it's interesting to see Lando still giving up that place, even though he was so much faster.
Yeah. I think
he could have quite easily just said, be like, no, I'm not giving that place because I'm now leading and I'm faster. So
my thing is that if he'd have given the position back at an earlier point in the race, then the team couldn't argue with him. If he'd have given it back earlier, I think McLaren would have allowed him to potentially fight for the win on his own accord. But I do think that there's a bit of like maturity and things like that he needs to learn from.
It was like if he still wasn't sure what he was going to do, because he was arguing with the team, but he also wasn't letting Oscar by. But then at the end of the day, he did. So then, like, make a decision. Either you say, okay, I'm the #1 driver here, I don't care what Oscar's done, I'm taking this win. or be the team player and right away say, okay, let's swap position. But it was like the constant, but the arguing sort of, if you can call it that, and the not knowing what we're going to do, it didn't help the situation. So it's interesting to see. I don't really have a judgment over it. I don't really care, if I'm honest, but it's just very interesting to see.
Yeah.
Going into Spa, we had the penultimate race for the F3 championship, and I don't know why they make Spa the like penultimate race for that championship, because I don't know, Spa just always brings chaos, especially with the rain that is very like on and off there. So yeah, it's just chaos for the championship. But F3 sprint race, I haven't watched any quali, so we'll go from the races. F3 sprint race has a front row lockout for Prema, with Beganovic on pole and Mini right behind him. So Prema had a front row lockout for the sprint race with Beganovic and Mini. Now, Mini is obviously a big contender for the championship, so Gabriel Mini taking the lead into turn 1. Honestly, I was screaming, as he is so close for the championship fight. But it was also very like nervous to see two Premas going into battle like that on Spa. Arvid Lindblad had an incredible start. He went from P27 to P16 just with his start. So that was really incredible to see. Max Esterson making contact with the barrier at Rouge.
Two TikTokers on the grid. Yippee!
Make a TikTok barrier.
So Max Esterson had a slow spin and touched the barrier at Rouge, which brought out the first safety car. After that restart, the top 6 from Beganovic to Montoya were all within 2.5 seconds. So it was very close, and I think that is surprising to see at Spa, because obviously Spa is such a long track. It's the longest on the calendar, so seeing them all so close together is really nice. And then Mini was actually being told that he was allowed to race and put pressure on Dino Beganovic, which for Prema won the F3 championship, but they were still in a position where they could lose it if both of those drivers crashed out. So to tell Mini that he could race Dino Beganovic, I think that was quite a bold move from Prema, but I love to see that. I mean, I think they should race, so that was great to see. But Mini was also coming under pressure from Tim Tremnitz, who was right behind him. So as they battled, Dino Beganovic got back like his lead, because them battling behind him made sure that he could like take a bit of the gap back that he had before. So yeah, Dino Beganovic ended up winning this race. This was his second victory of the 2024 season. And Prema did finish with a 1-2, with Leon taking 3rd place for the sprint race. And then we have the future race. So the future race...
Sorry, just quickly. The sprint race, Sami Megatunov finished in 6th place, but he would drop down to P28 after... Huh? Oh. 27. Okay, P27.
Wow.
Because he had 10 track limit violations.
Which accumulates to 35 seconds worth of penalties.
Oh my god, I've missed that.
You get 3 free, so his additional 7 cost him 5 seconds per track limit. Damn. So track limit 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 all 5 seconds each.
To be fair, that many track limits.
To be fair though, what?
No. So, him getting so many track limits at Spa and not banning his car with the amount of gravel that there is at Spa, I think that's... I mean, obviously you don't want the penalty, but I think that's something. He didn't bin the car at least, didn't touch the gravel enough to, you know, get it stuck. Yeah, this is typical F3, I have to say. The future race then. So we had Callum Voisin win the future race, and what a win for him. He had a great start from lights out. He got the lead in the first corner. Well, he kept the lead in the first corner. Montoya jumping from 4th place to 2nd. He had a really good start as well, which was great to see. Then there was a collision between Oliver, there we go again, Kute, Oliver Kute, and Gabriele Mini, which dropped Mini back to the end of the field. Now, remember when I said that he is a championship contender, so him dropping back at like the first lap is just, that's what I'm saying with Spa being very chaotic to be the penultimate race for F2. But I guess it brings the drama, so it's also great, but not if Mini is your favorite driver, which is my case. The first safety car came out because Martinez Stenhorst spinning as staff alone, but that was recovered pretty quickly. And then sort of the chaos began, because then we had a collision between Sophia Fleurs and Joseph Logue, which saw both drivers spin off the track in turn 9, both out the race as well. Then we had a collision between Christian Mansell, who made contact with the rear of the Prema of Lindblad, which was also into the gravel at turn 9. So there was literally, you once had a shot, I think it was like the 4 drivers standing there, because they couldn't, because the track is so long, I don't think they could have like been brought to the paddock during the race. So you had like the shot of the 4 drivers just arguing there, and just standing there watching the race, because they all went off in the same fucking corner. Then, while that was happening, this is what I'm meaning with chaos, while that was happening, Charlie Roos made contact with Boya, giving him a puncture. So it was literally chaos until the end. A special mention for this race, and I hope I'm saying this right, is Tuka Tapanone, if that's the correct pronunciation.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, because he debuted for ART, seeing Nikita Solov being banned from the race. He has previously raced at Spa-Francorchamps in a different series without permission. You can't do that, so he was banned from this F3 race. Which, I don't know really why he would sort of risk that. I don't know the story behind it, really, to be very honest, but he's been doing quite well in F3. He's getting podiums, he's getting wins. I think he's really sort of making a name for himself, which F3 is what it's about, basically. So I don't know why he did that and took that. Yeah,
there was 2 drivers that did it, competed in dual championships without the FIA's agreements.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's got to be something to do with super license points. Get more super license points by competing across the 2 and maybe missing out on some points in F3. But
yeah, it felt a bit weird, but yeah, he wasn't there anyways. So the F3 future race ended with Callum Voisin winning, and we had Sebastian Montoya and Fornaroli joining him on the podium. Honestly, great to see Montoya on the podium. I think he has had a difficult F3 season, but also showed some good things here and there, so I was happy to see him on the podium. And with that, Prema was crowned as the championship winning team for the F3 season. Prema has been really strong in F3, not so much in F2, but in F3 they've been getting those points, so it was great to see them crowned champion. But there's still one champion left to be crowned, which is the Drivers' Championship, which will take to Monza after the summer break. That is where the last F3 race will be. And as we know, Monza is also a bit of a chaos circuit, especially with how big the F3 grid is and how small and like tiny the Monza track is. So it's definitely going to be chaos at the end.
They've made alterations as well, haven't they, to like the first like 2 corners, like the weird. I can't remember. I don't know.
Hey, did it change it?
I thought I saw someone like screenshot Google Images, and they've made the track wider, but they've made the chicane like thinner, if that makes sense. So it's like more of a turn in on themselves.
Interesting.
So they can't straight line it as much as what they used to be able to, which I don't know whether it's going to work or whether it's just going to be more carnage, and whether people are just going to go, fuck it, I'll just take the escape road. There's no point in getting my car fucked up when I can just take the escape road and lose a couple of seconds but gain it back later in the lap.
Oh my god. Well, that's going to be chaotic for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the F3 championship is ending there. Sorry.
I was gonna say there's 7 potential champions.
Yeah, the gap between 1 and 2 is 1 point. Fornaroli is currently leading with 129. Mini is behind him with 128. And then we got a whole list, 7 drivers who are still in contention. So it's crazy how close that is and how many drivers we can still see winning that. I honestly, if I have to guess, I honestly wouldn't know. Because I think all the drivers that are in this top 7 have showed that they definitely have the sort of talent in F3 to win this championship, but then I think also all of them have had accidents and spins and stuff like that, so honestly I couldn't tell you if I had to make a guess. I'm hoping it's gonna be Mini, but that's just hopes and a lot of prayer.
I would like it to be, I'd like to see Arvid and Blood win.
Yeah, that being, honestly, he has had an incredible season.
I'd also really like to see Christian Mansell win, although that's one of the very far-fetched ones. Christian Mansell and Oliver Goethe are both very far-fetched. They're both below 100 points, so 97 and 94, which respectively they could still win, but they would have to make sure that the top 3 at least score no points in the sprint race, because if Oliver Goethe won both the sprint and the feature race, took pole and 2 fastest laps, he'd finish on 133 points. So he would need to pray for like
no points, meaning no points for the entire weekend. Yeah. It's but I mean, in F3 anything can happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up being some sort of situation like that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be chaos. So Spa also saw the F2 grid returning there for their Europe sprint sort of thingy. Sprint race, Paul Aaron took pole position for that.
No.
We had... Did he not?
Took pole position for the feature race.
He took pole position, yeah. No, never mind. Saco Sullivan took reversed pole for the sprint. Yeah, the F2 sprint race, honestly, they had a lot of rain. So after 15 minutes of delaying, race control just said, okay, we're gonna postpone this race till like, I think it was 6 something in the evening after everything else. Yeah, after everything else was basically done. So we had Psycho Sullivan taking reverse current pole. We saw Zay Maloney going for a gap and was able to dive down the outside of Franco Colapinto to take 4th place. Or Ollie Behrman gained 6 places during the start, which was really incredible. And then someone I honestly can't stop talking about, but Kimi Antonelli made one of the craziest moves I ever seen going into a Rouge. He went side by side with Colapinto and then overtook him on... If you come out, it's the outside. It's the outside, the inside, the outside, but it was honestly crazy to see him keeping his foot down into a Rouge and going up like side by side with Colapinto, so that was honestly really great to see. Then Pepe Martin stopped on track, some issue with the car, which brought out the full safety, no, not the full safety car, brought out the VSC first and then the full safety car. And after that, it just rained more and more, and they did like 6 or 7 laps behind that safety car, I think, and then race control just said, okay, this is enough, it's not going to clear up, we're not going to race today. So after just 7 laps, O'Sullivan won that sprint race for F2 with Hauger and for sure joining him on the podium. So because they completed over 25% of the race but under 50%, so only the top 5 was awarded points. Not full points, I believe it was.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, so only the top 5 got those points. Which didn't really make any, like, a lot of difference in the championship anyways, because Saco Sullivan, Richard Shore and Dennis Hauger are not that much in the mix for championship contenders, so it didn't really make a difference in that sense. But it was sad to see the F2 sprint race not, like, having an actual race, because I think they're normally pretty good at Spa. The future race, though, we had a full future race, so that was great to see. Now Paul Aaron was starting on pole position. He had an amazing launch off the line, but going into Camel Straight, Isaac Hatcher passed him for second place at Le Comp. Then we saw Saint Maloney had a slow start, and he had a slow start and he dropped back a lot on the grid. Oliver Bearman went on the inside of him going into the first corner. I don't think Oliver Bearman ever saw Pepe Marte on the other side of Saint Maloney, so they basically went in 3 wide, and there was just no space. Bearman spun, collected Marty, and they both had a DNF. I think it was just like a typical starting first corner incident. They went 3 wide. I don't think Bearman ever saw that there was a third car, so he had a valid reason to go for that gap. It's just a shame that there was a third car, and so yeah, sad to see for Ole Bearman, because he is having such a difficult season, both because of crashes but also Prema just pit stops and just not having the car they have in F3, how like the dominance they have in F3 is just completely different in F2. So it's, yeah, obviously we now know Oliver Bearman is going to Haas for the F1 season next year. So it's sort of, I don't know, annoying to see that he's having so much trouble in the F2 season, because obviously he wants to show that he is the right driver for them, even though obviously if he's already signed, but it's, I think, more comfortable to go into an F1 season if you have also that confidence boost of a great F2 season.
I think the move he made on Zane Maloney that subsequently took out Pepe Marti was exactly the thing he needed for his Haas audition. And that's probably why he got hired.
Yeah. He definitely does show that he is a good driver. I mean, to be fair, everything he's done in F1, like, not just the race that he did for Ferrari, but also all the practice session, he has shown that he can drive that F1 car, and that is not going to be a problem for him. So obviously has shown that already. It's just, yeah, like I said, I would love to see him have a good season in F2 as well.
I think the issue here is the F2 car is the complete opposite end of the spectrum to an F1 car. They're nothing alike in the slightest. It's a stupid car to have as the next step to F1.
Yeah.
It would be a smart idea to have a car that's slightly somewhat similar. Nothing against the F2 car, because I do love the F2 car. However, it doesn't make sense as the next step up to F1, because the one thing every driver comments on is it's so different in an F1 car to an F2 car, because the cars are so different.
So different.
So there could be drivers who are doing terrible in F2, put them in F1 car, they could be phenomenal, because they're just very, very different cars. So I feel like people as well judge too harshly on someone's F2 career in terms of their then F1 career and being signed to F1 teams.
Yeah.
When in reality, a lot of the time, the place you finish in F2 doesn't really matter towards F1. As long as you can show you can drive well, that's all F1 teams care about. It's like GCSEs. The colleges, universities don't care about your GCs, Gemma Collins, your GCSEs. They just care about how well you can do something, no matter the result. So Ollie Bearman is a GCSE. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
What a statement. We saw Colapinto's car come to a stop, which was an early retirement from him. Then in lap 4 we had a safety car come out because Victor Martens got taken out. Sorry, Katie. He was honestly talking about Victor Martens and luck. There was absolutely none. There's not a lot in the season anyway, but he got taken out basically by Villa Gomez, who sort of got pushed wide by Taylor Bernard. So for Katie, this was just awful. Villa Gomez sort of spun and collected Victor Martens. Nothing Victor could do about that. So yeah, sad to see for Victor Martens, as he's already having quite a difficult season in F2. So DRS was re-enabled on lap 8. And with that, Isaac Hedger passed Aaron on the Camel Straight again and taking the lead of the race. While having the pit stops, Enzo Fittipaldi came in. He stalled his car during the pit stop and never got the car back on, which made him retire from the race as well. He was obviously really upset about that. But talking about upset and cars coming to a stop and chaos in the championship, I believe it was the last lap, or definitely the closing stages of the race, but we saw Paul Aaron slowing on Camel Straight and ended up having to stop his car and retire from the race with 0 points. After having taken pole position, leading the race, battling with Hadjar, was looking comfortable for a podium, and then just his car broke down and he retired, and he leaves that race with 0 points, which, yeah, really upsetting to see, honestly, for the championship, for Paul. Yeah, not good. Not good, but nothing he could do about that. Doesn't make it any better for him, obviously, but that did mean that Isaac Hedger won the F2 race with Gabriel Bortoleto and Jack Crawford joining him on the podium. F2 still has quite a lot of races to go, so that's different to F3. The F2 calendar is a lot bigger, or like, how do you say that? A lot
Longer?
Longer, yeah, that's the word. It's just a lot longer than the F3 race. But with that win, Hadjar is now leading the championship again with 165 points, with Bortoleto behind him on 129, and Paul Aaron is very close to Bortoleto with 124. So, yeah, like I said, the season is still long, well, still long, but it's still some races for F2, so a lot can happen still in that championship. But I think this is this the biggest lead we had this 2024 season, with Hadjar being 30, what is it, 36
Yeah,
points?
it's the biggest lead we've had this season so far in F2.
Yeah. So yeah, anything could change. It really, in F2, really doesn't mean anything, but for Isaac Hadjar, it must feel good to have that lead going into the summer break. So yeah, that's F3 and F2. If I'm very honest, I haven't really watched F1 because I fell asleep after lap 10 and then woke up on the last 10 laps.
I watched F1, but I am losing my voice, so it will be very, very brief. The one thing I can say about the Belgian Grand Prix is that it was a very, very good race, not in any sort of chaotic way, but it was the most strategically beautiful race I have seen. The top 8 drivers at that point in the race, the top 8 in the championship realistically, were practically all on different strategies. Lewis and Charles were almost on the same strategy. Max Verstappen and Lando was on similar strategies. They were kind of doing whatever the other did. Carlos Sainz was on a strategy of his own. George Russell was on a completely different strategy. Even Sergio Perez was in the mix. He had a much better weekend for him, especially in terms of qualifying and in the race in general. We had one retirement from the weekend, and that was Zhou Guanyu, who randomly started slowing down on track and managed to drag the very, very slow car to the pits. The ideal strategy for Belgium was a 2-stop. George Russell and attempted a 1-stop. I can't remember if Carlos Sainz ended up following through with the 1-stop. He was on a 1-stop.
I think he stopped in like the last few laps.
Yeah. They also pitted Sergio Perez on one of the last few laps to go for the fastest lap point. In terms, there's not really much to discuss. Everyone was just on completely different strategies. All the drivers were like, of the top 8 were relatively within 3 seconds of each other for most part. We had a DRS train, but not a DRS train from like 10 and below. I'm talking a DRS train from like P3 to P7. Like, they were that close together. It was wild. And running on the alternative strategy, as I said, George Russell, who managed to drag his hard compound tyres all the way to the finish line after pitting, crossed in P1, and was then later disqualified for his car being underweight. They think the generalised agreement from people in the paddock is that it was the tyres that was the issue. It wasn't anything Mercedes had done to change the car or anything like that. It was genuinely, they believe, down to the tyres, where the additional wear from the one-stop was, and how in Spa, in other races, drivers are able, once they've crossed the line, to go around, pick up marbles, and they do this to make sure their car's not underweight. It's essentially what they do. They go around, pick up the marbles, add weight to the car gets weighed, not underweight, so they can, make sure the car's as low as possible. In Spa, you can't do that. You don't get to go around, pick up the marbles, and thus he ended up being at 1.5 below the weight, and subsequently was disqualified. Hang on. Subsequently was disqualified, losing his win, and that also meant that Mercedes lost their 1-2. It was the first 1-2 for Mercedes since the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in 2022, where George Russell took his first ever Formula 1 win. Lewis Hamilton finished P2. So Lewis Hamilton inherited the win. It was his 105th win, which once again makes his pole to win tally off, which really bugs me. So he needs to get a pole position at the Dutch Grand Prix. He's now 104 poles to 105 wins. Oscar Piastri, who crossed the line in P3 and joined the Mercedes pair on the podium, was promoted to P2, and Charles Leclerc, who finished just off of the podium after starting on pole position, finished in the end P3. Charles Leclerc just got bumped up all weekend this weekend. He crossed the line in P2 in qualifying, second fastest lap. Max Verstappen had a 10-place grid penalty for changing the ICE, I believe, in the car. And Charles Leclerc got bumped up to P1. And then in the race, George Russell got disqualified, and Charles Leclerc got bumped from off the podium to on the podium. So, better weekend for Charles Leclerc, especially after Austria and the British Grand Prix. He had a better run in Hungary, and then even better run in Belgium. As we said earlier, Max Verstappen hasn't won a race in 4 races, and after the Belgian Grand Prix, that is now 2 finishes in a row off of the podium. The last podium was at the British Grand Prix, where he finished P2 behind Lewis Hamilton. So there is still all to play for. He is on 277 points, so he does have quite a large margin. Lando Norris is on 199 points. And Charles Leclerc is on 177 points, so Charles Leclerc is exactly 100 points behind him. Oscar Piastri is on 167 points, only 32 points behind Lando Norris. So, with McLaren, realistically, all to play for in the Drivers' Championship, and especially more so in the Teams' Championship. They've got a pretty solid base beneath them. Yeah.
The points in the Championship made me a bit happy with the drivers, with 277, 199, 177, and what was the other 167? Like, to me, it was just a lot of satisfying numbers.
A lot of 7s, some would say.
A lot of 7s. Arvid Lindblad, who?
Daniel Ricciardo finished in the points in the end after, obviously, George's disqualification bumped everyone up. So Daniel Ricciardo ended up inheriting the additional point. Esteban Ocon finished P9, so he also got the little bump up, as did Fernando Alonso. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Yeah, I believe that was everything.
Pierre Gasly didn't retire from a race. Sorry, I was very excited when you were like, there was one race disqualification, and I was like, it's not Pierre.
Sorry, I was staring at that trying to figure out where P19 was, because there was only one retirement, and then realised.
Yeah. You finished P11. 11, 12?
13.
13th, that's the one.
Behind Lance Stroll and Alex Albon.
Yeah. Mate, I'm happy with a P13 at this point. Anything that doesn't have D and F next to it, I'm happy with.
However, now that Belgium has finished, that means it is officially summer break time. All single-seaters have now... Oh, not all. IndyCar's on still?
I think they're on their...
But IndyCar always slows down a bit towards the end.
I think they put that they're on their summer break. Or something that then...
World...
August.
All championships that revolve travelling around the world that are single-seaters are now on summer break. Or a break in general, if you're including Formula E. And we return for F1 on its onesies in the Netherlands, where you guys are going. Keep an eye out for a woman with a ponytail and an orange coat dancing around. If you're watching on the TV, keep an eye out for a woman in a ponytail and an orange coat dancing around. Because apparently she doesn't actually do any work, she just dances. I've heard she's an in-house entertainer and not actually a marshal.
Yeah, sure.
That's what you went to do. You went to study at college. You studied dance so you could entertain at the Dutch Grand Prix. Yeah, guys, if you want to be a dancing marshal, you actually have to attend some intense years. From the second you start to walk, you must start learning to dance, and then attend a dance college, and then you may be a dancing marshal.
Yes, hard work.
If not, you might look like Stephanie. It's okay. If Stephanie was listening, he wouldn't have gone this far.
True. Very true. Yeah, so we'll be back at the end of August, because obviously a lot of breaks in racing in general, single-seaters, basically everything is having breaks now, so we'll be back in the end of August. But we'll still have London vlogs coming out. There is 2 coming out still. No, 1, because 1 went up today. So there's still 1 London vlog
today.
Coming up.
Oh, I forget you're an hour ahead, so for you it is today that it's gone out.
Oh yeah, my hour changed. Well, tomorrow. Today. Anyways, when you see this, that London vlog will be out, and there will be 1 more coming. So make sure to check those out. We're having some little fun other things to do as well in between these breaks, and then Parc'd will be back at the end of August. What also is still going on full force is the Instagram, the TikTok, and the website, so make sure to check those out. Instagram and TikTok is parcfem_, and the website is parcfem.co.uk, so make sure to check that out. The articles on the website, there's also a lot of things that you don't have to keep updated, so you don't have to constantly see the newest things, because if you scroll back, there's also a lot of interesting articles about just general things racing, so make sure to check those out as well. And we will see you in the next video, whichever that will be. So ciao Bella for now, and have a good summer break.
Ciao
Bella.